Enjoy learning!
Good afternoon. Today, in this video tutorial, you will learn about the conditional statements. So me as your Mathematics 8 teacher will teach you how to determine the relationship between the hypothesis and the conclusion of an if-then statement, or what we call the conditional statements. And also, you're able to transform a statement into an equivalent if-then statement. So just stay focused. Happy learning! Let us discuss the introduction part. If you will study your lesson, then surely you will pass. So this is an example of a conditional statement. But before that, let us define first what is a conditional statement, or what we call the if-then statement. So conditional statement has two parts. The first part is the if, which is the hypothesis, and the second part is the then, which is what we call the conclusion. So in the conditional statement, you have to identify the hypothesis and the conclusion. Okay, so let's go back to our first statement on our introduction part. If you will study your lesson, then surely you will pass. Okay, so let us identify which is our hypothesis and which is our conclusion. Okay, so let us start with the hypothesis. The hypothesis is you will study your lesson, while the conclusion is surely you will pass. Okay, but there are instances na hindi lahat ng ating hypothesis ay nasa unahan ng statement. Hindi rin laging ang ating conclusion ay nasa end ng statement. Merong pagkakataon na ang ating hypothesis ay nasa end ng statement, while our conclusion is at the beginning of our statement. So kapag ganon ang situation, you need to assess and you need to observe which is our hypothesis and which is our conclusion on our statement. Okay, there are also instances that you may omit the word then, but still, you can identify the conclusion. For example, the statement, if 2x is equal to 12, then x is equal to 6. So as you can see, our statement is correct. Because when you divide both sides by 2, the answer is 6. Okay, so as you can see also, we use the word then. But, since there are instances that you may omit the word then, you may write it as, if 2x is equal to 12, comma, x is equal to 6. Okay, so since we omit the word then, still, we can identify which is the hypothesis and which is our conclusion. So therefore, our hypothesis is 2x is equal to 12, and our conclusion is x is equal to 6. So in this slide, we can identify, or we simply identify the hypothesis and the conclusion of the given conditional statement. Let's move on to our development part. A conditional statement is also called an if-then statement. It says that conditional statement divided into two parts. The first part is the if part, or the hypothesis, and the second part is the then part, or what we call our conclusion. So conditional statement also has a truth value of true or false. A conditional statement to be true show that when hypothesis is true, therefore the conclusion is also true. While to be false, you need to have a counterexample where hypothesis is true but the conclusion is false. So here, we have an example which is, if Cliff is thirsty, then she drinks water. So this conditional statement is said to be true. Let us proceed to the illustrative examples for you to fully understand the content of if-then statement. So let us begin with example number 1. If 3x is equal to 24, then x is equal to 8. So this conditional statement can be true or false. So let us assess if it is true or false. When you divide both sides by 3, the answer is 8. Now, so since the answer is 8, this is a true conditional statement since there is no other value of x that will make the equation 3x is equal to 24 true except 8. So let us have example number 2. If x squared is equal to 64, then x is equal to 8. So the conditional statement is false. Bakit kaya siya naging false? Since the conclusion have other value to make the statement true. Because when you get the square root of 64, the answers are positive 8 and negative 8. So therefore, the counterexample is x is equal to negative 8 and x is equal to 8. That's why example number 2 is false. How about example number 3? If a figure has 4 equal sides, then it is a square. Okay, square lang ba ang may equal sides or ang merong 4 equal sides? Okay, so is it true or false? So the conditional statement is false. Bakit kaya false ang ating number 3? Since rhombus is also a figure with 4 equal sides. So meaning to say, pwede pala nating i-assess kung ang given conditional statement ay true or false at kung siya naman ay false, pwede tayong nagbigay ng mga counterexample kagaya nitong x is equal to negative 8 and x is equal to 8 at pwede rin namang rhombus is also a figure with 4 equal sides. Now, let us have simple statements in the conditional statement. So, in this lesson, you can also write simple statement into its equivalent conditional statement or what we call the if-then statement. So, for example, a rectangle has 2 pairs of parallel sides. So, this is an example of simple statement. Let us rewrite this as conditional statement and let us identify the hypothesis and our conclusion. Okay, so let us start. The conditional statement is if the figure is a rectangle, then it has 2 pairs of parallel sides. So, tama naman. Kapag ang inyong figure ay rectangle, meron kayong dalawang pares ng parallel sides. Kasi ang sabi sa ating simple statement, a rectangle has 2 pairs of parallel sides. Now, from our conditional statement, let us identify the hypothesis. So, the hypothesis is the if part and our conclusion is the then part. Okay, so our hypothesis here is if the figure is a rectangle and our conclusion here is it has 2 pairs of parallel sides. So, it is about example number 1. Let us have example number 2. The number is prime. It has only 2 factors. So, here, let us identify also the conditional statement, the hypothesis, and its conclusion. So, let us have, if the number is prime, then it has only 2 factors. So, that is correct. Ang prime number, ang factors niya ay 1 and the number itself. Kaya siya ay 2 factors. Okay, so what do you think is our hypothesis? So, hypothesis is the number is prime. How about our conclusion? It has only 2 factors. So, that is the conditional statement and the hypothesis and conclusion of example number 2. Let us move on to example number 3. 1/2 of a number is 12. The number is 24. So, let us have the conditional statement. If 1/2 of the number is 12, then the number is 24. Tama naman. Because 1/2 of 24 is 12. So, what do you think is our hypothesis? 1/2 of the number is 12. And our conclusion here is the number is 24. So, that is the conditional statement, hypothesis, and the conclusion of example number 3. Let us discuss the Venn diagram. So, Venn diagram can be used to illustrate conditional statement or the if-then statement. So, things that satisfies the hypothesis must be inside the things that satisfies the conclusion. So, let us have the illustrative examples. For number 1, if a number is an integer, then it is a real number. Okay, so the solution is Like this, ito yung ating Venn diagram. Sabi nga dito, yung bagay daw na nag-satisfy sa hypothesis must be inside the things that satisfies the conclusion. So it says that if a number is an integer, then it is a real number. So kung mapapansin nyo, ito yung Venn diagram natin, and dito yung integers, sakop siya ng real numbers. Kasi if a number is an integer, then it is a real number. Okay, let us have example number 2. If you are a Filipino, then you are an Asian. So, gagawa ulit tayo ng Venn diagram. So, that will be our solution. That is the Venn diagram for number 2. Ito yung Filipino. And then, kabuuan, that is the Asian. So, yung ating Filipino dito ay nakapaloob sa ating Asian. Kasi ang sabi, if you are a Filipino, then you are an Asian. So, that is how to illustrate conditional statement into a Venn diagram. Okay, so in our previous example, Venn diagram can be used to illustrate a conditional statement. So now, let us write the conditional statements for the Venn diagram. So vice versa naman tayo. So ang given ngayon is the Venn diagram and you're about to create the conditional statement. So always remember that the things that satisfies the hypothesis must be inside the things that satisfies our conclusion. So as you can see, nandito yung ating Rizal. Ito naman yung kabuuan, that is the Calabarzon. So let us write a conditional statement. So here we have, if you reside in Rizal, then you are from Calabarzon. So that is true. So makikita niyo dito sa ating Venn diagram, yung Rizal, kinasasakupan siya ng Calabarzon. Okay, so if you reside in Rizal, ibig sabihin, ikaw ay galing sa Calabarzon. Okay, let us have the second Venn diagram. So let us write this as a conditional statement. So as you can see, nandito yung eggplant natin. And then, yung pinakamalaking circle natin, that is our vegetables. Now, so we are about to rewrite it as a conditional statement. So, let us have this. If you eat eggplant, then you eat vegetables. So, tama naman. So, since nandito yung eggplant natin, kung kayo ay kumakain ng eggplant, therefore, you eat vegetables. So, that is the corresponding conditional statement of the given Venn diagram. I hope this video tutorial helps you to fully understand our lesson for today, which is all about conditional statements. So thank you so much. See you next time.